Hi, my name is Samantha Vella, and today I'm going to be presenting my final project. So let's begin. So to begin with, let's start off with the introduction. So in this presentation, I will discuss how 3 films we watched this quarter to add to the negative stereotypes of Hispanics/Latinos. Furthermore, I will discuss how these films bring more harm than good. So let's start off with one of the films, Los Olvidados. So, Los Olvidados. This film adds a negative stereotype that Hispanic people are criminals. The main characters are often being portrayed as bad people throughout the film. As a matter of fact, this scene shows the teen beating up the blind man because they are trying to steal his money. Furthermore, this scene makes Hispanics look like criminals who steal from others and that they are associated to violence, which is not an accurate representation of all Hispanic people. Now going on to the second film, Danzón. So, Danzón. This film adds to the negative stereotype that Hispanic men are creepy and are all cheaters. As a matter of fact, throughout the film, we are able to see men catcalling women as they are walking on the streets. Additionally, Hispanic men are negatively being portrayed as cheaters. Sylvia, Julia's friend, makes a comment that all men are married and alike. So as you can see, the first scene selection basically just shows Julia's daughter and her friend walking and they're being catcalled. And you also see this negative depiction of men being considered creepy. When Julia first arrives in Veracruz, she's also being catcalled and men are approaching her. And I feel like that just gives Hispanic men like a negative depiction. And it just shows that many women tend to feel like uncomfortable when men catcall them. And then the second picture, it shows Sylvia basically telling Julia that all men are the same, that they're all married and they tend to be cheaters and that you can't find anybody that's loyal. And I feel like that's not an accurate representation of all Hispanic men. Like just because one man might be like that doesn't mean that all Hispanic men are the same. And I feel like Danzón just gives people the impression that all Hispanic men are the same, which is not true. So lastly, another film I decided to focus my project on was Nosotros los Pobres. And Nosotros los Pobres highlights how Hispanic and Latinos are also being negatively portrayed. As a matter of fact, this film adds to the negative stereotype that Hispanics/Latinos are nosy and that they are all poor. The audience is able to see the neighbors gossiping about others and overhearing each other's conversation. Additionally, this film also makes Hispanic people look poor through the background and showing that some struggle to pay for their expensive. As a matter of fact, in the first picture, you see the homeless men overhearing their neighbors' conversations. And like I said, this just shows and gives a negative depiction of Hispanic people being nosy and just like being all over their neighbors' business. And then the second picture, as you can see, it says she charges 30 and we feel like dying. This is basically when the homeless men are trying to purchase an item, but one of the main characters, Chachita, is charging, and because they're homeless, so they don't work, they're struggling to pay for their expenses. And I feel like just like scenes like this just made Hispanic people and Latinos just look bad and making them like appear as if they can't pay for their expensive. But that's not true. Like a lot of Hispanics and Latinos are able to live a comfortable lifestyle. And I feel like Nosotros los Pobres doesn't showcase that. If anything, it like just shows like the negative parts of Hispanics and Latinos. So how are these ideas embedded in social and economic settings? So these ideas are embedded in social and economic settings by being related to many issues such as femininity, cultural identity, etc. As a matter of fact, Rashkin mentions that Navarro's simultaneous articulation of key issues, gender nostalgia, cultural identity, liberation can be seen as powerful intervention in the social context of the 1990s. Additionally, these stereotypes are being embedded by the film Los Olvidados, being populated by a cast of characters that represent supporters of any society in situations that bring out only the worst in them, violence, murder, decrepit, etc. And then another point I wanted to highlight was that it's important to note that Los Olvidados directly addresses and attacks the official idea of Mexican culture, the official shape of Mexican cinema that was part of the post revolutionary cultural project, which included the organization of national museums, etc. Additionally, Cifuentes states that in Los Otros Los Pobres, the notion of an unruly femininity, here prostitution gets circumscribed, and regulated under the sign of the maternal, and this disciplining can be achieved through masculinist act. And then not to mention that Pepe's privileged masculinity rescues femininity from loss and perdition. He brings his sister into the home. So I feel like um, to sum all of this up, like these ideas are embedded in social and economic settings by relating these situations to issues that we currently deal with in current times, such as femininity, cultural identity, and etc. And then this is just what critics have said about the films. And for the sake of time, I'm not going to go through all of them. I'll just go through like one for each. So for Los Olvidados, it says that most celebrities and critics were originally negative based on their belief that Los Olvidados portrayed a viciously negative, false, and dirty image of Mexico. For Danstone, when they discussed the film's male characters, the main conveyed a feeling of being personally attacked by the marginalization, stereotyping, and ill treatment of men. And then lastly, for Nosotros los Pobres, the status of the body and the melodramatic text is quite important because as I am suggesting here, it allows an identification with normative gender ideals from maternal love to masculine bravery, and by extension with ideas of the body, politic, and the nation. And that basically concludes my presentation. And then the last slide is basically just like the bibliography. But yeah, I really hoped you enjoyed my presentation and you were able to see that I really enjoyed this class and learned many things. And yeah, I really hope you enjoy your break, and thank you so much.